Hello everyone, welcome to Unacademy's YouTube channel. Let me check if the stream is coming up in YouTube or not. After that, we will jump straight into the class. Okay. I hope you guys all did very well in the prelims examination. Okay. Okay. The stream has come up in YouTube, everyone. Okay. So today, the topic that we are going to look today is India and its neighborhood. Okay. So specifically in our neighborhood, we are going to look at a country called as Pakistan. So in a way, we are going to look at the relationship between India and Pakistan. Okay, so how the relationship has been historically and how it has evolved over the number of years, and how can we improve the relationship between India and Pakistan in the coming years. So these are the issues that we are going to discuss in our today's class. Before going on to the class itself, let me give you a brief introduction about myself as well as about Unacademy. See, my name is Aravind. I completed my BE Mechanical Engineering in 2014 and have almost 3 years of experience in teaching UPSC Civil Services, and I have experienced all stages of UPSC Civil Services. Now, my specialty subjects include polity, international relations as well as current affairs. Now, if you wish to know more about my classes, please join this Telegram group Unacademy_Aravind, where I will update regularly regarding my schedule, or if you have any doubts regarding my classes, you can contact me via this Telegram group. Now, what will you get by subscribing to Unacademy? See, by subscribing to Unacademy, you will get access to daily live classes where you get to watch those classes, you can rewatch them, and then if you have any doubts, you can ask those doubts then and there itself. Now, with a traditional offline class, you cannot rewatch your old classes because the video recording feature will not be there, or the institute itself will not give you that feature. But with Unacademy, since it's an online platform, if you are having any doubts regarding your old classes, or if you want to revisit your old classes, you can rewatch them. Okay? Now, Unacademy, apart from daily live classes, they conduct live tests as well as quizzes almost on a daily basis. Okay? And then all courses in Unacademy are structured courses so that the learning process for the students becomes much easier. Okay, because the courses are kept in line with the examination point of view, and then the courses will be aligned in such a way that the learning process becomes much easier for the students concerned. And then you will get unlimited access to videos concerned with UPSC examination. So if you are subscribing for UPSC examination, you will get unlimited access to videos concerned with UPSC examination. Now, Unacademy also serves as a platform where top educators like Mudit Gupta, Roman Saini, Ayush Sangi, all these top educators, they get to share their knowledge with students who hail from all over India. Okay, so Unacademy serves as a platform for exchange of this information between these two entities. Okay, so and also Unacademy covers syllabus in a very comprehensive manner. Okay, so each and every nook and corner of UPSC syllabus will be covered by Unacademy. Not only that, the same syllabus will be covered by multiple faculty, so that if you are not satisfied with one teacher, you can immediately switch over to another teacher. Okay, so that's a choice Unacademy provides you with. Okay, so by subscribing for Unacademy, you can choose what time you want to study from which place you want to study from, and from whom you want to study from. Okay, so that's a choice Unacademy provides you with. So in a way, Unacademy is trying to democratize the entire learning process itself. Now, I suggest you guys download Unacademy learning app so that you can keep track of your learning goals, how much time you are spending with Unacademy, or if your favorite teacher is about to take a class in Unacademy, you will get a notification in your learning app. Okay. Now, these are the amounts charged by Unacademy for plus subscription for UPSC. Okay. Now, this is very less compared to offline institutions where you will be spending upwards of 4 to 5 lakh rupees on studying for UPSC per year alone. Okay, with these things include things like fees, rent, food. But with Unacademy, you won't be spending a dime on either rent or food because you'll be learning from the comfort of your home itself. But even with fees itself, compared with offline institutions, this is very less. Okay. Now, on top of very meager sum that Unacademy is charging you, if you're using my code Aravind V, you will get 10% as offer. Okay, so don't forget to use my code Aravind V in case you are planning to subscribe for Unacademy. And even with iconic platform where Unacademy will assign you with a personal coach, this personal coach is some of the most experienced faculty, and now some have even cleared UPSC itself. Okay, so this personal coach will have the experience of what students will face when they are preparing for UPSC. They will give you some tips regarding preparing for UPSC, or if you are facing any hurdles regarding preparation of UPSC, they will guide you through that process. And with iconic platform, Unacademy will give you with a daily means question and answer practice, study planner, and then personalized feedback based on your performances. Now, even with an iconic platform, if you're using my code Aravind V, you will get 10% as offer. Okay, so people don't forget to use my code Aravind V in case you are planning to subscribe for Unacademy. So that's introduction and promotion done with everyone. Let's move on to today's class. Okay, so in today's class it's about India and its neighborhood. Okay, so this is the first class of today. So in today's class, we are going to look at specifically India-Pakistan relations. Okay, so in this class, we will look at the historical context between India and Pakistan relations, how the relationship has evolved over the number of years, and what are the solutions to improve the relationship between India and Pakistan. Okay, so this conflict between India and Pakistan seems like a never-ending conflict. Okay, so what can be the actual solution to resolve this issue? Okay, so all these issues we are going to look into this particular class. Okay. Now, before going on the class itself, let's look at a very brief history on India and Pakistan relations. Now, if you look at India and Pakistan as two countries, India and Pakistan share linguistic, cultural, geographic, and economic links, but their relationship has been mired in complexity due to their number of historical and political events. Okay, so because of these historical and political events, these two countries have not been able to enjoy a cordial relationship between each other. Now, India and Pakistan relationship have been defined by their violent partition of British India in 1947, okay, and then the Jammu and Kashmir conflict, and then numerous military conflicts that have been fought between these two particular nations. Okay, so if you have studied modern India, you might be aware of this fact that India and Pakistan was partitioned by British during 1947. Now, this partition was a very painful affair. Now, this partition was done along the lines of religious lines. Okay, so Pakistan was given to Muslims, and India was given to Hindus. Okay, so despite that intention, Pakistan remained an Islamic nation, whereas India evolved itself into becoming a secular country. Okay, so this was a major bone of contention between these two countries, because when partition happened, and the ensuing process of partition was a very violent affair. When number of refugees moved from India and Pakistan, and when refugees moved from Pakistan to India, this process was very violent in nature. Almost 1 million people lost their lives because of this partition, and almost 6 million people moved across the borders between these two countries. Okay, so it was a very violent affair. So the conflict between these two countries had its genesis in partition of India and Pakistan. Now, partition of British India was one of the largest human migrations ever, and it was sparked by bloody massacres of refugees across the region. It displaced up to 12.5 million people, with an estimated loss of people of around 1 million people. Okay, so many people, when world historians, they talk about great tragedies in world history, they talk about Holocaust, they talk about World War II, they talk about World War I, but not many people talk about the great tragedy that was the partition of India and Pakistan. Okay, almost 1 million people, 10 lakh people died because of this partition, but not many world historians talk about this fact. Even not many Indian as well as Pakistani historians talk about the grave loss of life that happened during this partition. Okay, what impact it had on the regions of Punjab, both in India as well as Pakistan. Okay, because Punjab as a state suffered a huge amount of human life during partition. Not many people, not many historians places an emphasis on this historical fact. Now, India became a secular nation with Hindu majority population and large Muslim minority were given protection, while Pakistan emerged as an Islamic republic with an overwhelming Muslim majority population and a very small population subscribing to their faiths. Now, after partition between 1947 to 1948, the first war between India and Pakistan was fought over Jammu and Kashmir. Now, in Jammu and Kashmir, the thing was that Jammu and Kashmir, okay, Jammu and Kashmir was ruled by a king. Okay, now when partition happened, when India was given the independence, princely states was given the choice of either they can join India or Pakistan, or they can remain neutral. Okay, now Jammu and Kashmir Prince Raja Hari Singh he has chosen that Jammu and Kashmir will remain neutral, and it will become the Switzerland of Europe. Sorry, it will become the Switzerland of South Asia. If you look at Switzerland, it has a very geographical advantage. Okay, if you are going from Switzerland, you can go to Germany, you can go to France, you can go to Spain, you can go to Italy at very easy. Okay, so Switzerland, by being neutral, it had a lot of economic advantage. Okay, so lot of wealthy members during at times of war, both French and German population, they will deposit their money in Switzerland banks. Because why? Because Switzerland was neutral and it was very stable country. So Raja Hari Singh studied Switzerland, and he thought that Jammu and Kashmir can become Switzerland, because Jammu and Kashmir, okay, it's a very beautiful land similar to Switzerland, and it is very near to Pakistan, India, China, and Nepal. Okay, so by remaining neutral, Jammu and Kashmir king thought that Jammu and Kashmir can become prosperous. By in turn, he also can become prosperous. Okay, so but Pakistani had other ideas. Armed Pakistani tribesmen, aided by the newly elected Pakistani army, invaded Jammu and Kashmir in October of 1947. Now, the legal ruler of the state of Jammu and Kashmir, Maharaja Hari Singh, faced internal revolt as well as external invasion, requested the assistance of Indian armed forces, and he agreed to accede to India. Now, when Jammu and Kashmir king acceded to India, he signed a document called as Instrument of Accession. Now, he handed over the control of its defense, communication, and foreign affairs to Indian government by signing this Instrument of Accession. Okay. Now, fighting between Indian armed forces and Pakistan armed forces continued through the second half of 1948. The war was officially ended on 1st January of 1949, when the United Nations arranged a ceasefire with an established ceasefire line, a UN peacekeeping force, and the recommendation that a referendum on the accession of Jammu and Kashmir to India will be held. Okay, so when the war was ongoing, Jawaharlal Nehru, he approached UN and he sought the resolution of UN. Yeah, he sought the assistance of UN in resolving the conflict between Jammu and Kashmir. Okay, now UN intervened in 1st of January 1949, and it officially ended the war between these two countries, and it established ceasefire. Now, when UN entered India, they gave a number of conditions. Okay, they deployed UN peacekeeping force in India, and they also said that a referendum will be conducted among Jammu and Kashmir population to decide whether Jammu and Kashmir will be joining in India or Pakistan. Now, at the time of ceasefire, at the time of ending of war, Pakistan controlled roughly 1/3 of the state of Jammu and Kashmir, and this land was referred to as Azad Kashmir, and it claimed that it was semi-autonomous. A larger area, including the former kingdoms of Hunza and Nagar, was controlled directly by the central Pakistani government. Now, in 1965, India and Pakistan fought their second war that was preceded by skirmishes that took place between the two nations between April and September. There were thousands of casualties on both sides in that particular war, and it witnessed the largest engagement of armed vehicles and the largest tank battle that was ever seen since World War II. Now, this war also ended after UN mandated ceasefire following the diplomatic intervention by Soviet Union and United States and the subsequent signing of Tashkent Declaration. Okay, so this Tashkent Declaration, it was signed by India and Pakistan. Okay, it was signed by India and Pakistan in. Uh, Give me a moment here. I will drink some water. Now, this Tashkent Agreement, this Tashkent Declaration, it officially ended the war between India and Pakistan. Now, after 1965 war, another war broke out between India and Pakistan during 1971 era. Now, unlike the previous wars, the bone of contention during this war was East Pakistan, not Jammu and Kashmir. The East Pakistan became the reason why a third war was broken out between India and Pakistan. The conflict between East and West Pakistan begins when central Pakistani government that was seated in West Pakistan, led by Zulfikar Ali Bhutto, refused to allow Awami League leader Sheikh Mujibur Rahman, an East Pakistani-based Bengali whose party won the majority of seats in 1970 parliamentary elections, to assume the premiership of the country. See here, if you look at the geography of Pakistan, okay, this is Pakistan, this is Pakistan, West Pakistan, and then East Pakistan. Okay, if you look at geography, if you look at any country, especially if a small country is at war with a big country, it is very difficult for a country to defend a territory which is far away from it. Okay, so in this case, it is very difficult for West Pakistan to defend East Pakistan, because if West Pakistan wants to deploy troops to East Pakistan, it has to cross India. Okay, since India and Pakistan are at war with each other, since Pakistan obviously cannot cross India and deploy troops in East Pakistan, so they have to travel via sea and they have to deploy troops in East Pakistan. Okay, so this is a very geographical nightmare for Pakistan. If they want to establish any communication between these two countries, it is very difficult for them. Okay, and apart from the fact that West Pakistan predominantly speaks Urdu, and East Pakistan, even though they belong to Muslim population, they predominantly speak Bengali, and they identify more towards Bengali than towards Arabic and Urdu population. Okay, so there's a cultural difference as well. Now, during 1971 elections, what happened was that most of the West Pakistani people, they voted for Zulfikar Ali Bhutto. Okay, now even though most of the population voted for Zulfikar Ali Bhutto, he didn't secure. He secured only. He gained majority of seats only in West Pakistan. Now, East Pakistan people, they overwhelmingly voted for Awami League. Okay, almost all seats was won by Awami League. Okay, so naturally, what will happen? Awami League will assume majority in this in Pakistan. But what happened was that Zulfikar Ali Bhutto refused to cede his seat, saying that East Pakistan people cannot assume premiership in Pakistan. Okay, so this became the bone of contention between these two regions. Now, after this issue, Pakistani military cracked down on number of protesters in Dhaka, March in 1971, in which the students and teachers were killed in large numbers. Now, after this crackdown, India became involved in the conflict. Why? Because of this crackdown, what happened was that number of Bangladeshi citizens, they started migrating towards India. Okay, if you look at Assam, West Bengal, other northeastern countries, if you look at these countries, why these countries have significant Bangladeshi population? Because of this 1971 Pakistani crackdown on Bangladeshi population. Because of this crackdown, number of Bangladeshi people, they started immigrating to India. Now, because of this huge influx of immigrants from East Pakistan, India became involved in the conflict in December after Pakistani Air Force launched a preemptive strike on airfields in India's northwest. Okay, now because of this immigration issue, Indira Gandhi pleaded with USA as well as Russia to allow India to get involved in East Pakistan affairs. Okay, at the time, the president of USA was Richard Nixon. He did not allow. He was very vehemently against India. Richard Nixon was vehemently, Richard Nixon and his Secretary of State Henry Kissinger, they were vehemently against India. They supported Pakistan all the way. But because of this huge issue of migration that was migrants that were coming to India, India's hands was tied. India had no other choice but to intervene in the affairs of East Pakistan. Now, after this Pakistani Air Force launched a preemptive strike on India, India retaliated with a coordinated land, air, and sea assault on East Pakistan. It compelled Pakistani army to surrender Dhaka, and more than 90,000 Pakistani soldiers were taken as prisoners of war. Okay, now keep this in mind. Okay, this is a very huge number. Okay, India had control of almost 90,000 Pakistani prisoners. Okay, now even though we captured this 90,000 Pakistani prisoners, okay, after this war we signed a declaration called as Shimla Declaration. Okay, when we had the control of these 90,000 Pakistani soldiers, we had a huge bargaining chip. Okay, we could have demanded anything from Pakistan. Okay, when we were signing this Shimla Declaration, Indira Gandhi could have practically asked anything from Pakistan, and they would have given that concession. Okay, we could have practically resolved the entire Jammu and Kashmir conflict because we had the huge bargaining chip of 90,000 Pakistani soldiers as prisoners of war. But India did not ask for the complete resolution of Jammu and Kashmir. Rather, we asked only for some some major major concessions in Jammu and Kashmir. But we could have asked more. Okay, many foreign policy experts like Shiv Shankar Menon think that while signing Shimla Declaration, India could have asked more because we had the bargaining chip of almost 90,000 prisoners of war. Now, East Pakistan became independent of this war on 6th of December 1971. In July of 1972, the Indian Prime Minister Indira Gandhi and his Pakistani counterpart Zulfikar Ali Bhutto ended the conflict and confrontation by signing this Shimla Declaration. Okay, now by this Shimla Declaration, what happened is that this Shimla Declaration designated the ceasefire line as of 17 December 1971 as being the new line of control. Okay, now this line of control is not a border. Okay, this line of control is not a border. It is just a point of it's a point of reference where India and Pakistan will not cross each other. Now keep this in mind. Many people will confuse this. Okay, line of control is not a border. Okay, see that's why if you look at India's border build and all. Border fences and all, the border fence will not be built on line of control. The fence was built some few meters away from line of control because in Shimla Agreement it was stated that any permanent settlement will not be built on line of control. That's why India built the border fences some few meters away from line of control. Okay, so line of control is not a border; it's a point of reference. Now, Shimla Declaration states that the line of control will be respected by both the sides without prejudice and to recognize the position of either side. Now, this Shimla Agreement was ratified by both the parliaments in India as well as Pakistan in 1972. Okay, so remember the Shimla Agreement. And another important point with regards to Shimla Agreement was that both India and Pakistan gave a declaration that the issue of Jammu and Kashmir will be resolved internally. The issue of Jammu and Kashmir will be resolved internally. Okay, so this is very, very important because even though if any issue arises between these two countries, Pakistan right now cannot approach other countries. Pakistan cannot request other countries like China or USA to interfere into the affairs of Jammu and Kashmir because this provision was inserted in Shimla Agreement, which is very, very important. Okay, give me a moment here. Now this is regarding 1972 conflict. Now the next conflict between these two countries emerged during 1989. Now in 1989, armed insurgency in Kashmir Valley began Muslim political parties, after accusing the state government of rigging the 1987 state legislative elections, formed militant wings. Now, Pakistan declares that it was providing moral and diplomatic support to these militants. Okay, see here. During 1980s, I will explain this further. During 1980s, what happened was that, now give me a moment here. I will open one document here. See here, everyone. In 1980s, what happened was that I will explain uh, the issue of Kashmir right now. Okay, why Kashmir became very militant because of Pakistan's involvement. See, during 1980s, what happened was that Afghanistan was occupied by Russia. Afghanistan was occupied by Russia. Now, after the Afghan occupation of Russia, USA wanted to repel Russia, but US did not wanted to directly interfere into the affairs of Afghanistan. I am being clear. Russia occupied Afghanistan. Russia invaded Afghanistan. It was occupying Afghanistan. Now USA, they wanted to, since there was a Cold War going on between Russia and USA obviously they wanted to throw Russia out of Afghanistan. So rather than directly involve into the conflict of Russia, what USA did was that they helped Pakistan. They gave a lot of money to Pakistan to train a number of militants called as Taliban. To train a number of militants called as Taliban. Okay, now these Taliban predominantly, even though they were kind of extremist, they had extremist religious beliefs. They were not violent. Okay, they were not violent in nature. But Pakistan, with the aid of USA, they trained these Taliban to fight against Russia. Okay, so that's when Taliban became very violent. That's when terrorism became such an issue. Okay, only after this USA training of Taliban in 1980s, only after that militant Islamic terrorism became such a very crucial issue. Okay, now Pakistan, since Pakistan, they were very clever. They thought that since they were already trained Taliban in Afghanistan, why not train these militant outfits in Jammu and Kashmir as well. Okay, so they both trained. Okay, so USA gave assistance to train Taliban, but Pakistan, they used this assistance not only train Taliban in Afghanistan, but they also use this training for militant outfits in Jammu and Kashmir as well. Okay, so during this 1980s, after getting the support from USA, Pakistan started providing moral as well as diplomatic support to militants. However, it is widely believed internationally that Pakistan is actually complicit in stalking the insurgency by providing funding, directions, shelter, weapons, and training to the fighters. Okay, so that's how US is responsible for Jammu and Kashmir insurgency. Okay, so even now, okay, so during this 1980s training of Pakistan only, number of terror outfits like Al Qaeda, all these terror outfits came into being. Okay, now Bin Laden, the USA made such a big point that Bin Laden is such a big terrorist, but Bin Laden was actually trained by US only. You can actually find photos of Bin Laden taking pictures in White House with Richard Nixon. Okay, that's how close Al Qaeda and US was during 1980s. Okay, but when things got escalated, Al Qaeda started turning towards USA. Only then terrorism became an issue between Afghanistan and USA. Okay, during 1980s and all, USA actively supported terror groups like Taliban and Al Qaeda. Now, India is convinced that the armed attacks against its forces in Jammu and Kashmir are clear manifestation of cross-border terrorism by Pakistan. Okay, see here, everyone. Now, India believes that this is a policy followed by Pakistan called as bleeding India through thousand cuts. Now, Pakistan obviously denies this accusation by India, but everyone knows that it's true. See here, everyone. Now, I will give you the advantages of waging terrorist war against a country. See here, if for example, if this is India, This is Pakistan. Now, obviously, India is bigger than Pakistan. Now, in Pakistan, were to engage an actual war between towards India, Pakistan will obviously get defeated. That's the actual truth. Pakistan is not nearly powerful enough to India. But if a small country wants to fight against a bigger country, the only way is to do by means of insurgency, by propping up insurgency in the home country. Okay, so that's what Pakistan is trying to do. Rather than actually fighting the actual war, Pakistan is trying to wage a proxy war. What is this? What is this proxy war? Training insurgents in India to fight against the government by means of terrorism and also exporting terror elements from Pakistan to India. This is what is proxy war. What is proxy war? Rather than engaging in actual war, they will try to engage. They will try to wage a war against the country by means of other means like terrorism, insurgency, Naxalism, etc. Okay. Now, militant groups started taking part in the fight in the Kashmir valleys, continued to emerge through the 1990s. Now, their rank bolstered by the large influx of battle-hardened Mujahideen, who earlier taken part in Afghan wars against the Soviets. Now, Mujahideen, after fighting the war against Russians in Afghanistan, they were sent to. They were radicalized. They were very ready. They were ready to fight any government which they feel that they were oppressive. They were oppressing Muslims. These radical people were called as Mujahideen. Now, these Mujahideen, after fighting the Afghan war, they were diverted to Jammu and Kashmir. Now, despite centuries of communal harmony in Jammu and Kashmir between Muslims and Hindus and Buddhists, the minority Hindu community of Jammu and Kashmir in the Kashmir Valley was targeted by the militants and they were forced to migrate. Now, these people were called as Kashmiri Pandits. Okay, now these Kashmiri Pandits were driven out of Kashmir by this battle-hardened Mujahideen. Now, many pan-Islamic terrorist groups like Lashkar-e-Taiba, Jaish-e-Mohammed, and Hizbul Mujahideen continue to be active in Jammu and Kashmir. It is widely believed that in international circles, including by several Western governments, that these groups are headquartered in Pakistan and Pakistan administered Jammu and Kashmir. Okay, so this was the issue. This was the issue that was brought up in 1989. Now, in 1998, India detonated 5 nuclear devices at Pokhran. Pakistan responded to Pokhran blast by detonating 6 nuclear devices of its own in Changai Hills. The test resulted in international sanctions being placed on both India as well as Pakistan. Both countries became the newest nuclear armed nations after this blasts in 1998. Now, in 1999, Indian Prime Minister Atal Bihari Vajpayee travelled to bus by Lahore after this newly opened Delhi-Lahore bus service between these two Prime Ministers to meet Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif. These two Prime Ministers signed Lahore Declaration, the first major agreement between these two countries since 1972 Shimla Agreement. Now, both these countries reiterated they remain committed to the Shimla Agreement and agreed to undertake a number of confidence-building measures aimed at improving bilateral relations. Okay. Now, in May, the Kargil conflict broke out between the Pakistani forces, who included and occupied the strategic positions on the Indian side of line of control, prompting an Indian counteroffensive in which Pakistani forces were pushed back to their side of the original line of control. Now, Kargil was the first armed conflict between the two neighbors since they officially conducted nuclear weapons test. Now, recognizing the potential of the escalation of this conflict and its wider implication of international peace, then US President Bill Clinton summoned the Pakistani Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif and he demanded that he rein in his troops. Okay. Now, in 2001, on 13th of December, an armed attack on Indian Parliament in New Delhi left 14 people dead. Both Lashkar-e-Taiba as well as Jaish-e-Mohammed were held responsible for the attacks. The attacks led to massing of India's and Pakistan militaries along line of control. The standoff ended only in October of 2002 after international mediation. Now, in 2004, Prime Minister Vajpayee as well as President Pervez Musharraf held direct talks in 12th SAARC meeting in Islamabad in January, and the two countries' foreign secretaries met later in the year. This year marked the beginning of composite dialogue process in which bilateral meetings were held between the officials at various levels of the government, including foreign ministers, foreign secretaries, military forces, border security officials, anti-narcotic officials, and nuclear experts. In November, on the eve of the visit to Jammu and Kashmir, the new Prime Minister Manmohan Singh announced that India will be reducing its troop deployment in the line of control. Okay. Now, between 2004 to 2007, there was a number of soft diplomacy called as track to diplomacy. Okay. There was a number of diplomatic channels that was opened between India and Pakistan called as track to diplomacy. Now, what is this track to diplomacy? Now, there are two types of diplomatic process. One is obviously track one, which will be conducted via official sources. It will be conducted via official sources. So, in track one diplomacy, prime ministers of both these countries will meet together, foreign secretaries will meet together, and press will be openly admitted into this meeting. This is called as track one diplomacy. Now, there is another type of diplomacy called as track to diplomacy. Now, in track to diplomacy, what happens is that number of bilateral talks will be conducted via back channels. Okay, so rather than discussing diplomacy in media, they will discuss bilateral issues in secret. Now, why is this very important? Why was this track to diplomacy very important between India and Pakistan? See here, if you look at Pakistani military, if you compare Pakistani military and Indian military, Pakistani military enjoys a considerable power in Pakistan. They enjoy considerable power in Pakistan. Why? Because, and the entire reason why Pakistan military is very powerful, because they always try to trouble Kate against India. So whenever there is a peace that will be going on in India, Pakistan military will always try to attack India so that they can jeopardize the peace talk, so that they can assume a powerful position. Okay, if the war between India and Pakistan is not there, Pakistan military will not have so much power. Okay, so it is in the best interest of Pakistan military to have a constant war with India. If there is no war between India and Pakistan, what will happen? The Pakistan military will lose its relevance, so they will become powerless. Okay, so to evade the eyes of Pakistani military, between 2004 to 2007, India and Pakistan engaged in track to diplomacy. That is, they engaged diplomacy via back channel talks. Now, it was widely reported that by even Parvez Musharraf has said that they were very close to resolve Jammu and Kashmir issue permanently. Okay, they were very close to resolving the Jammu and Kashmir issue permanently. They were about to declare the line of control as the actual border between India and Pakistan, and they were to resolve this border issue between these two countries permanently. But after 2007, what happened? Coup happened to Parvez Musharraf, and he was thrown out of power. Okay, so officially after 2007, this track to diplomacy between these two countries broken down. Okay. Now, after 2007, even though this track to diplomacy broken down between these two countries, in 2008, a significant event happened in India on 26th of November in one of the most gruesome terrorist attacks the world has ever witnessed. Armed gunmen opened fire on civilians at several sites in Mumbai, India. Attack took place in various important places in Mumbai, such as Taj Mahal Palace, Oberoi Trident Hotel, Jewish Community Center, Metro Cinema, etc. More than 160 people were killed in these attacks. Almost 3 days siege of Taj, where gunmen remained holed up until about one of them was killed in Indian security forces operation, accounted for the bulk of casualties. Now, Ajmal Kaza was the only attacker who was captured alive, and he confessed that attackers were the members of Lashkar-e-Taiba. Tracking calls and communications all linked back to Pakistan, from where the entire attack was plotted and directed. In the wake of these attacks, India broke off all talks with Pakistan. Now, in 2009, Pakistani government admitted that Mumbai attacks was planned on Pakistan soil, but denied that the plotters were sanctioned by or aided by Pakistani intelligence agencies. Now, Indian government continued to take a stern line with Pakistan. However, with its coalition government saying that it was up to Pakistan to take the first step towards the resumption of substantive talks by cracking down on militant groups on its soil. Now, in September of 2013, the Prime Minister of India and Pakistan met in New York on silence of UNGA assembly. They agreed to end the tension between armies on both sides and in the disputed regions of Jammu and Kashmir. Okay. Now, in 2014, Pakistan's Army Chief General Rahil Sharif called Kashmir the jugular vein of Pakistan, adding that for lasting peace in the region, the disputed region should be resolved in accordance with the wishes of the aspirations of Kashmiris and in line with UNSC resolutions. On 27th May, Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi held talks with Pakistan Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif in New Delhi. Both sides expressed willingness to begin a new era of bilateral relations. Now, between 2014 to 2016, talks was going on pretty smoothly between India and Pakistan. Okay, Indian-Pakistan relationship was improving. Okay, both countries' prime ministers visited each other countries. Okay, it was improving. Now, as I mentioned before, whenever the relationship between India and Pakistan will be improving, Pakistan army will intervene and they will immediately jeopardize the relationship. So what happened was that in 2016, what happened was that Pakistani military they removed Nawaz Sharif. Okay, they removed Nawaz Sharif and they conduct elections. So in that elections, Pakistani military supported the current Prime Minister of Pakistan, Imran Khan. Okay, Imran Khan he became the Prime Minister of Pakistan with the explicit support of Pakistan military. Now Nawaz Sharif was thrown out of the government because we did not have enough support from Pakistani military. Okay, so that's how much power Pakistani military enjoys in Pakistani politics. Now in 2015, India's ruling BJP party forms the government in India. Forms the government in India administered Jammu and Kashmir in coalition with the local People's Democratic Party in March. Okay, now in December, on its way back from Afghanistan, Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi makes a surprise visit to Lahore on Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif's birthday and the wedding of his granddaughter. Okay, as I mentioned before, in 2016, JEM terrorists disguised as soldiers carried out a deadly attack on Pathankot Air Base in India's northwestern state of Punjab in January. The attack comes a week after Prime Minister Modi made an impromptu visit to Pakistan's counterpart Nawaz Sharif in an effort to revive the bilateral talks. As I mentioned before, whenever we are taking substantial talks between these two countries, Pakistani military, they will destroy this relationship. Now, in September, JM terrorists were stormed in an army base in Uri in Indian administered Jammu and Kashmir and killed 17 Indian soldiers. On 29 September, India, in its first direct military response to Uri, conducted surgical strikes on suspected terrorists across line of control in Pakistan administered Jammu and Kashmir. Okay. Now, similarly, in 2017, Indian Army bombs Pakistani Army checkposts in Nowshera along line of control in May, which, according to Army spokesperson Ashok Narla, was done in order to prevent the infiltration of terrorists into Indian administered Jammu and Kashmir. Now, terrorists attacked Hindu pilgrims in Jammu and Kashmir in July, killing at least 7 and injuring 16 people in the worst attack since 2000. In December, Indian Army conducts a cross line of control in Jammu and Kashmir and killed 3 Pakistani soldiers 2 days after 4 Indian Army men were shot dead in an ambush in Kiri sector of Rajouri. In 2018, similar to 2016, Indian Army claims that in total it had killed almost 138 Pakistani personnel in 2017 in tactical operations and retaliatory cross-border firing in line of control in Jammu and Kashmir and lost 78 soldiers during the same period. In May, after several months of deadly violence and cross-border firing in line of control, India and Pakistan agreed to fully implement the ceasefire pact of 2003 in letter and spirit and stop the cross-border firing. Later during the month, Indian Special Forces foiled an attack in Pakistan's border action team. Okay. In June, United Nations Office for High Commissioner for Human Rights issues the first ever UN report detailing the human rights abuses in Kashmir, titled Report on Situations of Human Rights in Kashmir. This 49-page report of High Commissioner for Human Rights Zaid Rad Al Hussein displays pronounced pro-Pakistan bias in its assessment of human rights situation on two sides of LOC, while UN designated terrorist organizations and terrorists are classified as armed groups and leaders as many as 38 times in remote report by the OHCHR. Okay, this was vehemently opposed by this report was vehemently denounced by India in General Assembly because terrorist organizations who were carrying out attacks in India was designated as armed groups or leaders. Okay, as many as 38 times, which was unacceptable for India. Now, in 2019, similar to Uri attack, almost 40 members of Indian Central Reserve Police Force are killed in a suicide bombing in Pulwama, in India-administered Jammu and Kashmir. This is the deadliest assault on Indian armed forces in the troubled region in decades. In 15th February, a Pakistan-based terrorist organization claims the attack and release of video identifying the suicide bomber. 2 days later, India hikes a tariff on all imports from Pakistan to 200% with immediate effect. On 18th February, days after orchestrating and devastating suicide bombing, GM terrorists kill an Indian army major and at least 3 Indian army soldiers in Jammu and Kashmir. Now, Pakistan Prime Minister Imran Khan on 19th February expressed his willingness to negotiate and cooperate with India regarding Pulwama attack on 14th of February. Now, Indian Prime Minister wrote a strong response saying that we will give a befitting reply. Our neighbor will not be allowed to destabilize us. Now, India and Pakistan armies exchanged fire on 25th of February in LOC in Jammu and Kashmir. Now, in 26th of February, Indian government carries out a non-military preemptive strike against Pakistani-based terrorist organizations' biggest training camp in Bagalkot, in Pakistani province of Khyber Pakhtunkhwa. After initially denying that any such incident had occurred, Pakistan subsequently acknowledged that Indian fighter aircraft had indeed penetrated deep into Pakistani territory undetected and had dropped bombs near Bagalkot. Major General Asif Ghafoor, spokesperson for Pakistani armed forces, however, said that strike hit an empty area, but Indian sources claimed otherwise. Now, in 27th of February, a Pakistani army warned that it will respond to India's aerial bombing. Now, Indian Air Force shoots down a Pakistani F-16 fighter, while Pakistani downs 2 Indian fighter jets and captures 1 Indian pilot. In 28th of February, Imran Khan says that captured Indian Air Force pilot would be released as a peace gesture. Reports suggest that Pakistani Prime Minister may have been under international pressure, especially from the US. Okay. Now, in the first week of April, India and Pakistan trade fire in the region of Jammu and Kashmir, leaving 7 people dead. Okay, so these are the recent developments in India and Pakistani relations. Okay. Okay, so this is how the history of conflict between India and Pakistan has transpired, everyone. Okay, so I'll give you 2 minutes to ask your doubts. So far, if you have any doubts, you can ask me right now. Okay, after that, we will move on to the next topic. Okay, everyone, please ask your doubts. Okay, the rest of the topics that I will be teaching tomorrow. Okay, rest of the topics. Okay, territorial disputes. Okay, and what are the other disputes between India and Pakistan? What are disputes? All these issues I will discuss tomorrow in another class. Okay, so please ask your doubts right now. If you're not asking doubts in the next 1 or 2 minutes, I'm going to end this session. Please people ask your doubts. Okay. People, please ask your doubts. Okay, I have given you ample amount of time to ask your doubts. Okay, so since you guys have not asked any doubts, okay, I assume that you have understood everything. Okay, so I'm ending the class right now.